What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Feud podcast. I am Stone Darrow, followed along by my co-host Mason Reed.
What's going on, everybody?
And my other co-host Paul Cotton, but I'm not going to let him say anything yet because I have to shout out our Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We are the Fantasy Feud. And if you guys enjoy this video / podcast, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And check out all our other videos. We have plenty of them posted for you guys. Paul, do you want to say your name now?
Oh, you already introduced me, but how we doing, everybody? Picking up where we left off in our previous episode covering the AFC East. This time we'll be going over the shocking 2020 Dolphins, who look to continue to develop Tua or maybe trade for Deshaun. Don't know yet. As well as number 2 overall pick Zach Wilson and defensive first-time head coach Robert Saleh and the New York Jets. Jason?
All right, so we'll do what we've been doing lately. Let's talk about some hot fantasy topics when it comes to the Dolphins. First thing that comes to my mind is the quarterback situation. Tua, not going to say his last name because I don't want to butcher it. Last year, he had an underwhelming 1,800 yards and 11 touchdowns with 5 interceptions. He did not impress me. He comes out this year, and he looks to kind of redeem himself as that number 1 pick that they hope him to be. How do you guys think Tua's going to fare?
It's all you, Paul.
Okay. I was going to throw it over to you, but I think Tua, it's his second year in the league. Kind of got his feet wet. He could have learned from Ryan Fitzmagic last year. I don't know if he can fully take that next step just because the offense. Ryan Flores is more of a defensive coach. I don't know how well, I guess, he'll do in his second year. It might be the same kind of plateau situation. Honestly, if they have the opportunity and Deshaun Watson is available, apparently he's the front runner for that situation, I feel like they would probably pull the trigger just because they've seen that they don't necessarily have the confidence in Tua. They went back and forth between him and Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's just kind of where I stand on it a little bit.
I think the owner really wants Deshaun Watson. He's really pushing for the agenda, and he's a owner that's known for overreaching for specific players. So I wouldn't see it to be impossible that they go for Watson. But if that trade does happen, they would have to give up Tua. And it seems like Brian Flores is not on board for giving up Tua. He's said some things like he really likes Tua this year, and he's their guys. But to be fair, as a head coach, that's kind of what you're supposed to say, even if you are going to trade for Watson at the end of the day.
Yeah. You got to build that confidence.
That locker room. I was gonna say you don't want to kill that locker room chemistry by coming out and not backing your starting quarterback.
Yeah. And they added some weapons for him. They've got that guy named Will Fuller who always seems to get hurt. Super, super talented. Was a first-round pick originally with the Houston Texans. Has all the potential in the world, but he's missed 3 weeks of practice so far this year. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a game changer. And then they went out and drafted Jalen Waddell. Don't really know how he's going to fare either. But my take on the Dolphins, if Tua is still the quarterback, I think he'll be average at best. I don't think he's going to come out and make any big splashes, but he might.
I know the talent isn't like it's not big name talent there, but they do have actually a lot of talent. Jalen Waddle has a lot of potential. A lot of people are forgetting DeVante Parker exists, which kind of surprises me because that guy was a monster 2 years ago. And Preston Williams is still there. Like you said, Will Fuller will be there after 4 games. And then I know Mason likes Myles Gaskin. I'm not a huge fan of him. And then, I mean, they have solid running backs there too. So, I mean, if Tua can't get it done.
DeVante Parker.
I would say if Tua can't get it done, then, I mean, the trade for Watson should be an easy one, right?
Yeah. No, you mentioned DeVante Parker. He's had like 1 good season in like 6 years in the NFL.
I was about to bring that point up.
He had a down year last year. I know. I like him though.
In the other 4 years too. Like I think it's going to be a 6.
He's had a down career.
Yeah.
He lost 25 targets from last year. Okay, he only played 14 games. Okay, he still was on pace to have a pretty good year last year.
Okay. But let's go ahead. Let's move into our sleepers. We'll kind of touch on some of this other stuff as well.
Well, I know that you guys have written down Malcolm Brown, but I would say instead of Malcolm Brown, I'd say Salvin Ahmad. I mean,
Yeah.
he played games last year, and he showed pretty solid glimpses of that he was a NFL-made running back and could fare well in the league. And I don't know, I don't like the running back situation there. I just don't like it at all.
Right.
It's a very crowded backfield. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be led by Myles Gaskins, but like we said, they've brought in Malcolm Brown from the Rams. They have Salvin Ahmed, who kind of burst onto the scene last year, the absence of some of the other running backs due to injuries. They also have Patrick Laird, which I know not a lot of people expect him to do anything for fantasy, but 2 years ago, he actually helped me get to a championship because of injuries, him playing. He has the receiving ability out of the backfield. He's one of those guys that doesn't see the field a whole bunch, but also at the same time, if he does, he can produce a little bit. It's not like out there averaging 2 yards a carry type situation, just being a complete irrelevant running back.
I didn't know he
I
still
will
played
preface
there.
that by saying, because I see him in the preseason, that's the only reason why. But I will preface that by saying that he is not somebody to go after unless it is a complete meltdown in the Miami backfield.
So, I mean, I guess to, kind of go off of what I said about Myles Gaskin in the first place, we can transition to our bust here. Myles Gaskin is my bust because I just, coming into the year, I was kind of surprised to see him as the number one in Miami. I didn't know they were that lacking in the running back department. But, he only averaged 4.1 yards per carry last year, and he was pretty effective in the pass game. But like I said, I liked more from Salvin Ahmad last year. Gaskin, he could be a candidate for a possible breakout year, but I just don't know, honestly.
Honestly, I think that kid put up decent stats all year long. He missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He didn't play 7 weeks, and when he did play, there was few times he scored under 10 points.
It was
When the
definitely the
opportunity's
passing
there,
game. It was the passing game. His
He
rushing
had-
game just wasn't there.
yeah. But fantasy relevance, if you have to draft him in the 5th round and you miss out, if you go something like Stone's route when you kind of draft wide receiver heavy in the first couple rounds, it's not. I don't think it's a bad choice. Round 5, 6 for Gaskin. To be
He's
honest,
a big
that's
hit
just
or
my
miss.
take.
Big hit or miss.
I'll go ahead and get into my guy. I mentioned him earlier. My bust is going to be Will Fuller. He missed 3 weeks of practice this year already, like I said. He'll also miss, the first 3 weeks of the season? So he's not coming back till week 4?
First
four?
suspension,
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a huge miss right there. I do expect him to catch on. So once he's there, when it's halfway through the season is over, I expect Will Fuller to come on the scene. Once he gains traction, I'm not taking him in the 9th round with his ADP. Still way too much talent there when you're probably going to end up dropping him either way. I'd probably wait till at least round 12, 13 to take the guy. But that's just my take. Paul?
Yeah, so I'll kind of piggyback off of that because he's my guy as well. Will Fuller, average ADP 805 is what I seen last. I don't like that, but I'll be quick and to the point here. He's missed 27 games in 5 seasons that he's been drafted, and that's not adding the 4 games this season. So 31 over the course of his career is what he's going to miss. Due to injuries and suspensions, obviously that's one of the biggest concerns with him is he going to be able to play? Is he going to be on the field? Can you start him week in and week out? Honestly, the answer is no. But currently on a 4-game suspension to start his tenure with Miami. That's not something that is very good coming over from Houston last year. He's always been labeled as a speedster deep threat in his career, but he's only ever managed more than 700 yards once. And that was last year in 2020. He averages about 550 yards and 5 touchdowns a year, but he also only averages playing 11 games a season. For fantasy, that's not something that is great because you don't know when those weeks of him being absent are going to come. You don't know if they're going to come in a critical time of being in the playoffs or trying that pivotal part of the season where you're on the cusp of making the playoffs and you need a must-win type of game. He's just not going to be there for you. And that's not somebody that I would want to put my faith in on a weekly basis.
I don't think I've ever seen Will Fuller started in a playoff game in my entire fantasy life. To be honest with you.
He's just not there for it.
No.
Let's go ahead and move on to the wide receiver of this team that Stone thinks is going to be the guarantee.
Yep, it's who we talked about earlier. He had the down year due to the injury, possibly only missed 2 games, but I'd say don't be scared of that again. It's DeVante Parker. I think Tua has definitely improved from last year. You saw in the preseason he looked pretty solid throwing the ball out there. And as of now, Parker is the clear-cut number 1, but I put an asterisk next to that because Jalen Waddle is now in the picture, and that guy could be pretty good. But I actually... Go ahead.
I was just going to say he's had that chemistry with Tua,
Yep.
being from Alabama, both of them.
Yep. But I legitimately could see DeVante Parker coming back with a 1,000-yard season. I mean, still saw over 100 targets in the 14 games he had last year and had about 800 yards. So he definitely has breakout potential being drafted and almost not drafted in some leagues, which blows my mind. He's the number 1 receiver right now, and he's almost not getting drafted. And Jalen Waddle's probably going, 50, 60 picks before him? Blows my mind.
Yeah. I know Paul's got love for Parker as he drafted him in the first round of one of our leagues way back in the day. I'll always give you credit for that.
Yeah, it was when he was a rookie. Our league was kind of set up a little bit backwards. I was the commissioner. I had a couple guys chirping in my ear, "Hey, you got to turn the because we had 2 keepers, and so we're technically starting in the 3rd round. And they're like, "Hey, you got to turn this around." Blah blah blah. I already had it set up proper. Looked it the wrong way, based on a couple other guys in the draft, and then it was just chaos after that. People were picking backwards. People that should have got the first pick at the last pick. We were trying to make picks for each other. Giant mess, and yes, I ended up landing DeVante Parker with my first pick.
It's a good first pick, bro.
Yeah.
He's had 1 good season in his career, and that was 2 years ago.
I'll go ahead and move on with the actual number 1 target in the offense.
DeVante Parker.
No. People are down the guy this year. His name's Mike Gesicki, or Goseki, however you want to say that. Last season, he lined up in the slot on nearly 70% of his routes, and he lined up out wide 19%, and was only playing the true tight end position 11% of the time for the Dolphins. This wide receiver type of role allowed him to have a career best 53 catches, 703 yards, and 6 touchdowns. Not terrible for a tight end. Paul will be like, that's average, but that's actually pretty solid for a tight end. He finished 7th.
It's above average.
He finished 7th in fantasy last year. Now with the additions of Fuller and Waddell and hopefully DeVante Parker being on the field the whole time, now he will get to basically line back up in that true tight end position. And if he is lining up and playing against safeties and corners, I think he's probably just going to tear up linebackers this year that will primarily be guarding him. So with that being said, I think he's actually going to be a top tight end this year. I'll say top 6. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but I think he's going to be worth drafting. It's just one of those guys that you can pick later on in the draft and be satisfied with all year long. Paul?
Yeah, again, he's my pick as well, Mike Gesicki, with an ADP of the end of the 9th round. I feel like he's one of those guys that we talked about it before. He's not the sexy pick for tight end. He's not Darren Waller, Travis Kelce, George Kittle. He's not going to bring you that type of production. But being considered the tight end 10, I think that he has a very good chance to continue to impress in this offense, to up his stats every year. The first 3 years of his career, he's consistently beat the stats that he had the year prior. So his rookie season, he had 22 catches for 202 yards, no touchdowns. The second year, which most people kind of regress and have a sophomore slump, went up to 51 catches for 570 yards and 5 touchdowns. And like Mason already said, this past season, his 3rd year in the league, he had 53 catches, 703 yards, and 6 touchdowns. I think with his 2nd year with Tua, it's just going to kind of bode well for him. He'll be a check down security type blanket for Tua, kind of getting more into that rhythm of not necessarily trying to be deep downfield tight end type receiver like Ryan Fitzmagic was trying to do and like he likes to do, throw the ball deep. We all know that. I think that, like Mason already said, he's just going to have that ability to get better in this offense, continue to increase his stats, and if he can be a legit tight end and not have to be out in the slot or moved out wide, like Mason said, I think he's just going to dominate linebackers and safeties if he has that potential to kind of get in the middle of them.
I would like to say, not trying to like go back and completely defend my pick of DeVante Parker being a guarantee or anything, but I just want to add on, if you have Deshaun Watson on this team, if this trade actually goes through, it's a whole different story for all of these guys.
I agree.
Because someone like DeVante Parker, like he's a perfect mold of a receiver for Deshaun Watson, somebody that Watson would love. Somebody who can go deep down the field and come across the middle of the field also. Like, he's a big dude. I think Gesicki and Parker would be huge beneficiaries of a Deshaun Watson trade.
He'd be playing with just a solid group of guys.
As I say, just to tack onto that, I mean, he's also then going to reunite with Will Fuller, who he just had in Houston.
Yep.
We know the chemistry that they had last year with Deshaun leading the league in passing with 4,800 yards, and Will Fuller having a career year with him. So I still wouldn't let that sway my pick from him being a bust potential. But that's just something to think about if Deshaun Watson actually does get traded for.
I also want to bring up the fact that Fitzmagic and Tua last year combined for 3,700 passing yards, where you said Deshaun Watson, he gets 4,800 in like close to 5,000 yard season. So that's 1,000 more yards to distribute within that passing offense.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Deshaun Watson, the whole quarterback situation, it's what it comes down to in terms of if these guys are going to be busts or not, pretty much. And if Tua actually takes the next step, that's also a big factor.
Yeah.
But we're going to move on to the Jets now, Mason.
All right. So this is what we talk about when we say stay away from horrible football teams. I don't see the Jets having a great season, but when we're looking at the Jets offense, they have a couple guys that kind of keep popping up for running back, as in Michael Carter, the big draft pick. Was he from North Carolina, Paul? Did he share touches with Jamal Williams or Jamal?
With Javonte Williams.
Yep. So then we've got Ty Johnson as well and Tevin Coleman. All right. Big question marks. We don't know who's going to get the start. We don't know what we're gonna see out of Zach Wilson. Is he actually going to be okay? Is he going to come out and prove that second overall pick? Corey Davis finally emerges in Tennessee, and now he's looking to be the Jets' #1 target. Definitely big downgrading quarterback from Tannehill to Wilson. And now Elijah Moore has a bunch of hype surrounding his name. I don't know what to expect from that rookie wide receiver.
Can you say that Zach Wilson's a downgrade from Tannehill if we haven't seen him play yet?
Yeah, 100%. I think Tannehill is such a good quarterback.
He's a very underrated quarterback. I'll definitely give you that. But I think Zach Wilson can be good. I actually do like Zach Wilson.
Okay, when I mean this, okay, potential for Zach Wilson, ceiling is probably higher. Where they're actually at right now, Ryan Tannehill is a better quarterback.
I guess that's fair. Aaron Rodgers has been saying a lot of good things about what he's seen from Zach Wilson, so I'm just listening to him on that one, honestly.
Maybe Aaron Rodgers is getting traded to the Jets. We don't know.
Wouldn't that be something? Following the career footsteps of
Brett Favre,
his predecessor, Brett Favre.
Yeah, gross.
Well, like Mason said, though, the running back situation's a big old mess right there. And I'll start off the busts here. I have Tevin Coleman as my bust because I'm pretty sure he's labeled as #1 on the depth chart. And that seems absolutely crazy to me that NFL teams haven't given up on this guy yet. I mean, he has a career yards per carry of 4.2. He has the lingering injury problems. Last year before he got hurt, he averaged 1.9 yards per carry, which is terrible. But, I mean, that was on 28 carries, to be fair. Come on, New York, just start Ty Johnson already. Johnson has pretty raw talent, and I like him. I think he could take the starting job sooner rather than later. But he's going undrafted in many leagues, and he could be a steal of a waiver pickup.
I think Ty Johnson is the sneaky one in this running back group. because Michael Carter is actually being drafted. What's it say? Round 8, pick 9. That's still pretty risky right there when you could be drafting starting wide receivers still. But yeah, like I said, the entire running back group is very questionable. The team, as far as we know, still sucks. So when it comes to fantasy production, whoever you take there, probably going to be limited regardless. Paul, who's your bust this year?
Mine is a guy that you've already named, Corey Davis. Yeah, we've seen him kind of blossom in Tennessee, but it just goes back to when he's viewed as the team's number one wide receiver, like he was his first few years in Tennessee until AJ Brown came along. He's produced underwhelmingly. He's only played one full season in which he produced 65 catches for 891 yards and 4 touchdowns. He did that on 112 targets. I don't think 112 targets is what I think he'll see a little bit more as the potential number one in New York. But 112 targets isn't that great if you are being viewed as a number one receiver. Then in 2019, he regressed heavily, having 43 catches for 600 yards and 2 touchdowns on 69 targets, playing in one less game. Most of that was due to the emerging rookie, like I said, A.J. Brown. And once Brown took over as the wide receiver 1 in 2020, Davis's stats, they started to peak back up. He had 65 catches for 984 yards, so almost 1,000, and 5 touchdowns, all career highs. And guess what? He's back to being viewed as the Jets' number one wide receiver after signing a 3-year, $37 million deal. We've already talked about it a little bit. They don't have a whole bunch of other talent over there. They just got rid of Chris Herndon in a trade to Minnesota. They have rookie Elijah Moore, who I love. They have a second-year player, Denzel Mims. They got Jameson Crowder, who is probably their most consistent receiver. But again, I just don't have a lot of faith in Corey Davis. I might be proved wrong. He might actually come out and just kind of continue same type of trend that he had last year. And he might be a good receiver, but I just don't see it. I think he'll kind of regress being viewed as that number one again.
I agree because he got that deal, and it seems like every time a mediocre receiver balls out a year and then gets his deal, they fall apart the next season because they already got their money. And let me say, 3 years, $37 million for Corey Davis. What are the Jets thinking? That is,
and he got his first round deal because he was a first round draft pick. The dude's just making money, not doing.
I mean, he had a good year last year, but that's behind AJ Brown. As a number one receiver, he's not going to see those stats again. He's not that great, to be honest with you guys.
I don't know, man. See, I will take the risk on Corey Davis in round 11, round 12, rather than some of the guys that are going there. I'll still take Corey Davis right now over Marquise Brown. It depends. It depends how the team's going. But
I guess that could segue me into my guarantees. I didn't say there really is one, but I said there's guys worth stashing. And Corey Davis is one of them. You should stash him. He could be solid. He's a big question mark this year. But I also got guys like Crowder, Zach Wilson, Elijah Moore. I can't guarantee you any of these guys will produce good numbers to be a guarantee, but I can tell you they're worth stashing on your roster. The Jets last year were a big train wreck, and I'd say fantasy owners would be wise enough to stay away from this team again this year. But I will admit they are trending up from last year with Wilson and the signing of head coach Robert Saleh.
Definitely trending up.
Yeah.
I can definitely tell you guys, Jameson Crowder, he's not being talked about this year. He's not being drafted in most leagues unless I'm in them. I'm usually taking Jameson Crowder real late, and when I take Crowder, I'm definitely not taking Corey Davis. Obviously before that, but like Stone just said, new head coach, new QB, they're trending upwards. Hopefully will bring a dramatic improvement in the offense. He still showed signs of greatness last year with multiple games, over 20 points, 3 to be exact. Major downfall is his durability. He's a small wide receiver. He gets banged up pretty easily. He missed 6 games last year. I've been following this guy since he's played for Washington. He's always drawn Antonio Brown-like comparisons in his prime, not Antonio Brown as of late. he's got true talent, and he's a PPR machine, guys. As long as he remains healthy, I guarantee you will be able to start him in your flex PPR wise all year long.
He's been so consistent in the league ever since he's been in it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm choking on Mountain Dew. Mountain Dew Zero. But yeah, no, I love the guy.
Paul, you want to talk about your guy?
Yeah, mine is Michael Carter. I know we already kind of talked about him a little bit. Stone, you're more higher on Ty Johnson, which, I mean, he has the NFL experience.
Yeah.
But to me, like, let's face it, Tevin Coleman, like you said, Stone, his best days are behind him.
Yeah.
He's missed 10 games in the past 3 years, and he finally leaves Kyle Shanahan's offense. I don't know if that's been like the biggest thing for him, was that he had the consistency of Kyle Shanahan. It's kind of somebody who gave him, I wouldn't say the respect, but who gave him the confidence to be out there to continue playing. But it's one of those things. He's now in a different system. Robert Saleh, obviously, he still comes from the same coaching tree as Kyle Shanahan, being the defensive coordinator for the 49ers last year. He's not going to run the same type of offense because, like I said, he's not an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. It depends on who he brings in as an offensive coordinator to really see what Tevin Coleman can do. But I think he's completely done. I think to Michael Carter, he's slightly smaller at 5'8", 200 pounds, but he was very productive at UNC. Like Mason alluded to, he played in the same backfield as Javonte Williams, who was top pick for the Denver Broncos and who's looking at being the number 1 for the Denver Broncos, even as a rookie, with Melvin Gordon still on the roster. In his final 2 seasons, though, at UNC, he had 379 touches for 2,670 all-purpose yards, 16 touchdowns. Me sharing a backfield in college, playing in a division of the ACC, where it's a little less talented as some of the other big divisions in college football, that's still pretty impressive to me, putting up 16 touchdowns and 2,700 yards while sharing a backfield with another rookie who is being favored as a pretty highly touted draft pick.
It's like you said, they're sharing carries, and that's what makes those numbers so impressive.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think it's only a matter of time until he takes the starting job or Coleman gets hurt. Again, like you said, Stone, I know you like Ty Johnson, and he has experience in the NFL. He's been there. He's been with that team. And I could be entirely whiffing on this, and maybe Ty Johnson's the one that takes over. But I just liked all the production that I've seen from Michael Carter, and I think he'll be a fine running back in this league.
So I guess now that we're done talking about every team in the AFC East, it's time to pick our division winners. Will you guys go before me?
Paul, you go first.
Well, mine's going to be the Buffalo Bills. Plain and simple, I think they have best constructed roster from top to bottom. Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, I think they're going to be one of the best wide receiver quarterback combos in the league. Yeah, we talked about it. Their backfield, it's not that great, but we've seen them win the division last year, and I just think they're going to continue to do it.
And I'll build off of that. I'm with Paul. Best team in the division. I'm just going to give them to them right now. The Bills are going to reign true once again. So
I want to say that the Bills are hands down the most built and complete team in the entire division, but I can see potential regression in the team this year. We talked about it in the previous podcast. If Josh Allen regresses, that whole entire team is going to hurt bad. And
that's true.
Personally, I don't see Josh Allen being able to do exactly what he did last year. I think he is going to regress. If it's a bad regression, they probably won't win the division. If it's a subtle regression, they will win the division. I think that Miami has real potential here to steal the division, so I'm picking them as the winners this year. Kind of one of those sleeper teams that people aren't thinking about. They won 10 games last year, and they've only gotten better since last year. Tua's getting better. If they trade for Deshaun Watson, that changes things a lot too. So I think Miami, their defense is pretty solid. The receiver talent's there. And the running back talent, even though I said Myles Gaskin's a bust, I mean, I still like the running back talent there. It's just a headache for fantasy. I think they have real potential to steal the division this year.
God, I'm trying to look something up. The Dolphins played the Rams and at the end of the season last year, and I'm pretty sure they beat them. And I don't know if I'm thinking wrong completely right now. I don't know.
They beat the Rams.
I can't pull the stat up, so I'm not going to say it. But I do know that the Dolphins, last year in week 14, they played against the Chiefs and they scored 27 points, and the Chiefs scored 33.
Yeah, it was a good
They've
game.
showed signs of greatness, and to be great, you have to consistently be great. But I just think if they take a step forward from last year, they can, like Stone said, potentially win the division.
They have Brian Flores too, and he's a fantastic coach. I really like him.
Heck yeah.
Just to put that into perspective a little bit with the Week 14 matchup, that benefits well that an offense will put up points around that point, because that's looking at starting your playoffs and getting to championships in fantasy.
Completely.
Mm-hmm. So that's my pick for the division. I know it seems a little out of left field, but I do think it is possible. Realistically, I think the Bills are going to win it, but I do think the Dolphins are going to win it too. So I went with the Dolphins here.
I like it.
That's all the time we have for the podcast today, though, so we're going to wrap things up here. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Fantasy Few. Leave a comment down below. Ask us any questions. We're happy to answer any of them. If you like the video, go ahead and give it a like. Give it a subscribe. We post these things every Monday through Friday. This week's schedule is kind of messed up, so we're going to be posting Saturday and Sunday as well, hopefully. That is the plan as of now. And before we head out of here, Paul, do you got anything to say?
Just speaking to why our schedule is a little wonky right now. We're going through a lot of fantasy drafts ourselves. We're bringing some of the experience that we're having in those drafts to our podcast. So again, like Stone said, if you like what you're hearing, if you like the content, go ahead, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and just keep coming back.
All right, Mason, close us out. I won't even do it today.
Fantasy Few out, baby.